Welcome to another edition of the Great River Folksinger Factoid. Today I'm having an opportunity to talk to Scott Martin. He is another one of our 12 finalists, and he's from Austin, Texas. Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Dave. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate being considered as a finalist as well. I am originally from the Northwest. I say originally. I was actually born in Bermuda, which makes me a dual American British citizen. My dad was in the Air Force. Yeah, during the Korean War, a nice place to get stationed was Bermuda. So
all the time. It's a nice
who would have thunk? But so yeah, I was born there, but grew up in Northern California and Oregon. Oregon kind of feels like my hometown, Corvallis, where Oregon State University is. But I started playing music really early. You know, when I was a kid, we were churchgoers, and I sang. I learned to sing and read music before I even knew what it was, and I know that had a big impact on my music life. And then I started playing in band and orchestra young. But long story short, in about 13 years old, I started playing guitar and piano. And you know, by the time I was 20, I'm sure I'd put my 10,000 hours in. I was just, you know, couldn't tear myself away from it. And I was in the LA music scene. I moved there after college for 12 years, and I did a lot of vocal session work, you know, films, miniseries, commercials as a studio vocalist. And I had a band. I did a lot of original music. I had close calls with label deals and publishing deals and some of those kinds of things. And like a lot of my friends, you know, they didn't come to fruition. But then I moved away from Los Angeles and ended up in Austin after living in Colorado for a little while. But I've been in Austin for over 20 years. And the music scene here and the songwriter scene here is incredibly embracing and wonderful. You can go down and hear great songwriters somewhere almost any night of the week. And I'm super, super grateful for that community, which I kind of re-entered about 5 years ago after raising a family and taking about 25 years away from professional music. So there's my 120 words or less.
Well, you did wow us. You have great finger picking skills, and Absence of Angels was our choice to put into the top 12. And you're right, there were so many good submissions this year. I like to say our honorable mention of the next 12 could have easily been the finalists for the 12 people.
Agreed.
So our Great River Folksinger Factoid. So let's start it off. Have you ever been to La Crosse, Scott?
I have not. In fact, I have not been to Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin and North Dakota are the only two states I have not visited. And I, like you and I spoke earlier, I've even been to Alaska. So it's time for me to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wearing my green and gold here today. I've been a Wisconsin native forever. So have you been to Germany then in your trips?
I have not been to Germany. I've been to a few places in Europe, but not to Germany. So is there a sister city there or something, or what's the correlation?
The Rhine River Valley supposedly looks exactly like the Mississippi River Valley near La Crosse. So if you've been in one, you might recognize the similarities. We have no castles.
Well, I'm striking out here, but
no problem.
That makes sense to me. I have family in Minneapolis. And in fact, I have a niece that works for the Mississippi River Authority, it's a nonprofit.
Sure.
And she's told me a lot about the history of the river and all that. And it sounds like you guys are only about 90 minutes or 2 hours from Minneapolis?
Well, 2.5 hours from Minneapolis. And Minneapolis has parts of that, but you really do have to get closer to the river. Maybe Red Wing would start looking like.
So you're downriver. You're southeast of Minneapolis, right?
Right. Yeah. Downriver. Yeah. Well, you've never seen the giant six-pack, which is a Wisconsin kind of a legend for us. But then you are a guitarist. Have you ever heard of Dave's Guitar Shop?
I've heard of it, but I've never been. I mean, I think the closest comparison might be McCabe's Guitar Shop in Santa Monica, which even rhymes, sort of.
I'd be real curious whether or not you've ever get a chance to come up here and you could compare the two,
That'd be
because
great.
I host house concerts, and when I take people there, people who are toured the entire nation, they say they've never seen a guitar shop like that. And his
Hmm.
collection upstairs that really isn't even for sale just goes on for rooms, and it's incredible.
Wow. I
Uh,
would love to see that.
yeah. All
If I
right.
come up that way, you're going to have to get me a tour.
Oh, you got it. You just look me up. Legend quiz: Bob Dylan or John Prine?
It's really hard, but I know that even Bob Dylan's a big fan of John Prine.
Uh,
Um, I mean, I love Dylan, but I think over the years I've listened to more Prine,
yeah,
and
I hear you.
I
How
mean
about
that's a really unfair question, but
there's unique parts of both of those, and I think maybe you were telling me Randy Lewis Brown got it right. One of the finalists said, you know, Bob Dylan wrote the best songs. John Prine wrote the most songs you're going to remember and sing along with.
well,
Because
and you also have to love Prine's irreverence.
yes,
Uh, there's something. I mean, he just didn't give a damn. You'd think. But on the other hand, you can say that about Dylan too. The way he doesn't even show up to get a Nobel Prize.
true. Joni Mitchell or Carole King?
Definitely Joni. I love Carole King's stuff and this thing she did with James Taylor, et cetera. But Joni's had a huge impact. Being a fingerstyle player, well, especially a lot of different tunings.
Oh yes.
Joni had a big impression on me, and lyrically as well. I have studied her lyrics many times when I'm in the middle of writing songs, and I love the way she will wait until sometime in the second verse to mention the love interest in the song in passing. But anyway, she's a genius, as a lot of most of us songwriters think. But yeah, she's sort of the Mozart, I think, of songwriters. I would have to say.
How about Robert Cray or B.B. King?
I don't listen to blues that much, but I've seen Robert live. I saw him at the Portland Jazz Festival back in the early '90s, and he was amazing. And I love his style. Nothing but a woman, I think, is a song I remember. Yeah, I mean, B.B. King was a big part of my young adulthood. Hearing his songs on the radio and everything. But I love Robert's gritty, bluesy stuff.
I'm all there with you. Randy Carlisle or Gillian Welch?
Brandy Carlisle has just knocked me head over heels in the last couple of years. I saw her at the South by Southwest Music Festival. I think it was the last one before the pandemic, and she is just amazing. I mean, Gillian Welch is too. I think I saw her at a Lions Folk Festival back in 1991 or something in Colorado.
Wow.
But Brandy, yeah, I'd say. I mean, my current pick would be Carlisle. Yeah.
Okay, so when you write, and you said you've gotten hard back in it again with the Austin crowd, are you a religious writer of morning, midday, or evening, or is it only when the muse hits? Do you have are you a person with a pattern?
I'm a person with a mission. It depends on whether I'm recording or writing or performing. So when I was preparing for this, I'm mixing a record right now that's going to get released in September. And for a good 6 to 9 months, all I did was write. Morning is my favorite time because my mind is fresh. But and that's typically when I might brainstorm the most. But I might try to fine tune things during the rest of the day. But my songwriting, I mean, when I've been working on the production of this record, I've gone months without writing a song, which I don't. I guess I could say that's normal for me, but I don't normally produce and mix my own records either. This is an unusual situation.
Yeah, that happens to so many artists that they have to wear so many hats that they just dive deep into one and then dive deep in the other, and go back and forth. I feel for you, but that is the world that we live in now.
Well, it's it's definitely a different mode. I mean, like I've got to focus for hours every day on the post production of this record, and so yeah, I kind of like feel I miss it. I kind of feel like a different person, but it's nice to be able to do both.
Yeah. Um, so you are a paper writer, computer writer, or something else?
I was a paper writer forever, but when I started writing again, well, it's been at least 10 years since I started writing again. But when I did my last record, my first record, which was in 2018, I think I started using my laptop and my phone. I just use Google Docs, and I know that some people think that's the evil dark side, but the thing about a laptop is that I can keep different tabs open with a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary and different versions of a song, and I can access it on my phone if I'm not home. It's just super convenient, and it's not romantic, but it's practical.
Yeah, I just don't see long term, unless they figure out this digital thing, that they'll ever buy one of your songs off of Google Docs for $1 million. If you were like,
No, not likely. What do they call those? What do they call those non-fungible tokens or something that people,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, I don't understand them, but I guess.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, do you still have the old paper from when you used to write in books?
I have a lot of old paper. Here's a chart from 1997. So this isn't lyrics, but this is actually music that I charted. I mean, everything was paper back in the 80s and 90s, and legal pads, spiral bound notebooks, and I have way too much of that stuff still in boxes. I've got to go through it and just light a big torch to it sometime.
No, it'll be worth something. Okay, so what would be a lyric or a song that you would frame, that you're so proud of that you would frame? Now, most of you folk singers have been so darn shy that you'd say, "Oh, I wouldn't, portray anything." Try to think of one.
Of my own songs?
Yeah, one of your own songs.
Well, actually, the second verse of this song that is being considered as a finalist of "Absence of Angels," I'm super proud of. I've never framed a lyric of mine and put it anywhere. Once I'm done, I'm probably pretty sick of it all. But I'm really proud of that song. So if somebody forced me to frame some lyrics of mine, I guess I could have my arm twisted to do that one.
Okay. Would you frame it just like the thing that's behind you now in a black frame with the gray mat, or do you have a different envision?
That song, it's sort of, well, it's got this metaphor of being up on a mountain. So I might want it framed in a sky blue. A sky blue frame doesn't sound good though. Maybe a sky blue mat with a black frame.
Gotcha. All right. Now, who would you think as your best writing coach?
Well, I'd have to circle back to Joni. A virtual. I don't know if that qualifies.
Yeah, a lot of coaches have been people who you really have studied. It doesn't have to be somebody who's talked to you, and you're not alone with that. But
yeah, I would say I don't know if it's readily apparent to anybody. I mean, I do know some of my songwriter friends might agree with me, but I'm really influenced by her writing. I mean, being a child of the 60s and 70s, I mean, I've also listened a ton to James Taylor and, Sting, all these artists that when I was in college and in my 20s and 30s, I listened to. But if there's one artist I'd have to say that's influenced my lyric writing the most, it's Joni.
All right. The last one, and I don't hold people to the exact number, but 7 words you would tell your 10-year-old self.
Okay, I thought about this. Let's see if I can remember. Start playing piano now and saving money.
Yeah, saving money is always a good choice.
Or investing. You could insert that in there, but it's the same idea.
Yeah, it's a well-spoken. And why the piano, out of curiosity?
Well, because I do play piano well enough to play it when I'm recording. I'm not somebody that could just sit down and do it. And I played piano in college and learned how to play some classical stuff. But I think it's people like Jackson Browne that can play piano so well without any sign of it's just as natural to him as guitar. I'm envious of that. And maybe I could work up to that in a couple of years of practicing. But I think if you start when you're 10, it's a different kind of advantage.
It's a different mindset. It becomes more natural. Well, Scott, it's been fun talking to you. Do you have any questions about the contest or Great River Folk Fest?
Yeah. So how many people attend? How many days does it go? What is the event like?
Yeah, we've been having the fest since 1976, so we're a long-running fest, but we're still what most people would consider a small festival. Maybe 1,500 people walk through the festival over a 3-day period. We kick it off with a Friday night concert, have a full day of activities on Saturday with an evening concert, and then we have Sunday. We ended up at about 5 o'clock.
That reminds me of the format of, there's a really great little festival here in Texas in October called the Dripping Springs Songwriter Festival.
Really? Yeah.
And it probably has about that many attendees. It's over 3 days, and it's got about 5 different venues in this little town that people can just walk between.
Oh, yeah. Well, we put it all in one and put a fence around it so that.
Yeah.
But could we say we'd strive to be a lot bigger? Yeah, there's room for us to grow. And we've been growing about at a pace lately, about 10 to 20% a year. I think acoustic music is back. I think it took a little dive, and I think our region really didn't understand that as well, but it's coming back, and it's come back stronger. So I am committed to keeping this thing going. I've been the fest chair for the last 5 years, but I've loved folk music and the music for so long that out of the 44 that they've had, I've made about 40 of them.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited about the festival, and that there are events like this.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a resurgence of interest in acoustic music, even among younger people. I mean, when I do house concerts, I see a lot of people with white hair. But but on the other hand, you go to a festival like Dripping Springs, and this is probably true at your. I mean, it attracts just a lot of people. It's just a nice counterbalance to everything else that's going on in music, and I hope it's.
Well, and I wish you luck in the house concert series. I run one myself.
Well, thank you.
I do about 4 a year, and since 2008, and I'll tell you, they're all the most precious things that you've ever. People walk out, wow, that was the best concert I ever heard. Saying that like every other time.
It's a win-win for the audience and the performers. I just love them. I'm taking off to do 5 of them in August in Montana, Washington, Oregon, and Colorado. And I'm excited because my dad gets to go with me on this 4,800-mile road trip. But house concerts are just a fantastic, intimate chance to share music in an uninterrupted, not noisy, great. It's just a beautiful time, and I'm really grateful to be able to play those kinds of events.
Well, we're grateful that you found us and submitted some songs. So
I want to just say thank you to Randy Brown, because he introduced me to. He said, "Hey, you got to send these people a song or two." And it's funny because Dave, I've been over the last year or two, I've been thinking, I need to get up to Wisconsin and play some music. I was reading about there was a producer that produced the Nano Tibble record a couple of years ago from Eau Claire, Shane. What is Shane's last name? I'm drawing a blank. He was a musician that played with Bon Iver apparently when.
Yeah, Bon Iver actually lives up there sometimes.
Oh, he does, yeah. Anyway, after hearing that and just reading about the community, I've just been thinking, regardless of what happens here in the festival, I will be making my way up there at some point.
I hope you do, because I know there's places for you to play. The pandemic has changed some of the places I would usually recommend. I used to keep a venue list that I can maybe send you. But I really got to update that thing. So see which ones are still out there.
I'm likely to last summer I was going to do a house concert in Minneapolis, and that's likely to happen next year now, probably not again yet. But if I get up that way, maybe I will also make it up to over to La Crosse.
Sounds good. And hopefully my favorite place will be back up and running. The Root Note was always a place where I'd meet people like yourself. Acoustic people are following, coming through. Right now, Trempealeau Hotel is about the only one that has that kind of opportunity in our area that's on a normal routine basis. There's a lot of cafes and coffee houses that are coming back up. So we'll see how it works out.
Sounds great. So, I mean, it sounds like a community with a great vibe.
Yep, it is.
How big, by the way, how big is La Crosse, Dave?
La Crosse is about 50 to 60,000 people.
Oh, that's a sweet size. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
Maybe 75 with all the suburbs around there. But to me, it's the right kind of a size. And it's 2.5 hours from the Twin Cities and 2.5 hours from Madison.
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to end up with occasionally an artist that shouldn't ever be in a house concert, but they have a booking either in Minneapolis or Madison, and they're trying to make a connection.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But my little series is for a year. It books up real fast. So it's kind of.
Well, maybe I can find a spot with you in 2022. I don't know if that's far enough out.
There's always that chance.
But regardless, I really appreciate everything you're doing for the festival and the consideration of the festival, and look forward to getting up that way. Whether it's I guess is it the winner that performs the following year, or is it the top three, or how does that work?
No, the winner gets a booking. But I'll tell you what, if you look to see who we booked this year, we booked one person who was a submitter, but he was also a finalist last year. And we booked like 4 of the finalists from last year, plus the winner, just because they were more regionally based and they were available. Because on a Sunday, if they got time in their region, why not come down to Great River Folk Fest and meet people and shake hands? Because so many of those people are new friends just because of the finals last year. So
right, exactly.
So yeah, that's why I'm sure we're going to keep doing something online. It may evolve. That's the only thing I'm thinking of. So, yeah. Well, Scott, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. We're probably going to hit our recording limit here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I probably have to go to the farmer's market and visit one.
Well, good luck with that. Don't eat too many samples.
There always is good food there. But
oh, yeah. Well, Dave, it's really a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
You got it. Bye, Scott.
All right.